Well, thank you for joining me today. Are you able to tell me your name, your job, and a little bit about what you do at UP3?
I can. So I'm Justin Loftas, Technical Director at UP3. I'm responsible for all the technical delivery that we do in the organisation. I also look after our product side of the business. So we build products for the ServiceNow store. And I also kind of established our AI Centre of Excellence.
And can you share with me how you came to build our rail fraud app and what benefit that provides to customers?
Yeah, so the rail fraud app came out from an interesting concept. So we were working with a customer who understood that fraud within the Delay Repay system was costing quite a bit of money. I mean, in the multi-million pounds worth of lost revenue, really. Their original ask was to go and approach a load of companies who specialised in identifying fraud, but it was always something that was done after the event. The money had already been paid out. They would then collect all that data and say, by the way, all this compensation paid out was probably fraudulent because this data points to this not being a valid claim. But we were already doing their customer service management process. So we said, well, rather than do that, we can build something that will actually do that data analysis up front and stop the claim being paid. So we can do all these fraud checks. We just need to know those rules. What things do you look for? And then we basically built an application that would take all those rules and then apply it to their customer service process and basically stop that payment. So the hardest thing is when something's been paid is getting the money back, but that was all put in place, and that's where our fraud app was born out of.
So it would stop fraud in its tracks, basically. Pardon the pun.
Pardon, yeah. Well done. Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that was the great thing about the app that we built was it had a visual dimension, which rather than just looking at a list of names and a list of cases, it created a visual element which allowed people to join all the dots together. So realising that consumers were sharing email addresses or postcodes or telephone numbers. So what may look like 50 different people to an agent is actually one person using a spider's web of different ways to try and defraud the system.
Okay, really interesting. Thank you. And similarly, you did mention earlier the Delay Repay. I'm under the impression that the Delay Repay and the fraud app work together. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, so as part of the applications we build integrations with some of with most of the ticketing systems, and also with the main train service running data supplier. So we ingest real-time running data into ServiceNow and into our application. We take ticket information, so where tickets have been sold, and that allows us to then correlate that data and validate things like journeys and tickets. So if someone makes a claim, we can validate their ticket against the data. We can also confirm how late the train was because we've got the real-time train running data. So that allows us to kind of collect all that information together. And then the key thing is it's making sure that claims that are valid are paid as promptly as possible. So where there is a legitimate claim, that can be paid quickly. Typically within hours and days, where before it might have taken sort of 15, 20 days to get around to that claim. So it's not just a case of finding the people who are potentially defrauding the system, it's also making sure that legitimate claims are paid as quickly as possible because we're pulling all that data together.
Sounds great. And are there any projects you have worked on in the rail industry that required a unique solution?
So rail disruption was one of the things that we created. So again, we sat down and understood the challenge of the control team. So when there's a disruption on the network, which is not always the train operator's fault, you get storms, you get thefts of people taking copper cables and things like that. You get trespassers on the line. All those things can cause disruption on the network that the control teams have to manage. And typically that was originally all via phone calls, emails, post-it notes, all that kind of stuff. So we built an application that allowed them to put a bit more process behind it, again, kind of digitalising that process so that they were consistent and responding. So if there was a certain event where there's an evacuation for a station, they would then follow the same steps. It also had a mobile element so that there was no need to ring into the control team to get an update. So I think we cut calls into the control team by about 70% by giving a mobile app perspective for the station teams and the onboard teams to use. And of course, that's also, again, making sure the customer's got the right information. So if there's anything that the customer needs to be shared, they're not sort of giving different bits of information to customers in different areas. They can all give the same customer information, so it's consistent across the piece. So that was a real value add for them.
Better customer experience as well.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Well, thank you for joining me today, Justin, and that's all my questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you.